Cielito, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. And if you're new here, hey boo hey. Allow me to introduce myself. My name is Achila Yona. I'm a genealogist, researcher, and I'm also the author of Discovering American Genealogy. I help everyday ordinary people become experts in their family's history. And if that's something you're interested in, be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel and click the all notifications bell button to get notified when I go live and when I upload new content. I also post genealogy events on my Patreon, so be sure to follow my Patreon. The link is in the description box below. I have all types of genealogy tools and resources that you can use to help you exceed in your genealogy research. So, today's topic, we're going to be talking about breaking the 1870 wall in genealogy research for Black Americans. And I know some of y'all guys do not like the term Black, and I'm not saying it to be petty or to be inconsiderate, but a lot of people still call themselves Black. And if you are familiar with genealogy, a lot of our ancestors' documents are labeled as Black, Colored, Negro, etc. So I'm using these terms so people understand and know what I'm talking about. Okay, so moving on, I want to go ahead and start with the first step, which is start with what you know. You need to begin by documenting all the information about your elders, your ancestors, including names, birth dates, locations, and any other details that you can remember. And to even make this cherry on top is by interviewing your elders. Now, I do want to give y'all guys a warning. Some elders are very sensitive when you ask them certain information. So please don't take it personal. They're probably traumatized or they just don't really want to talk about it. But either way, be sure to be respectful and ask questions that are not only respectful, but also will bring more insight. And plus, this shouldn't be hard because a lot of older people like to talk anyway. If you talk to an elder, I'm sure they are going to give you a story that will probably like last 2 hours long. So just show interest and be respectful. Number two, research census records. Search the 1870 U.S. Census, the first to enumerate formerly enslaved individuals by name. Now, I get it. I know not all Black Americans were slaves. I get that. However, you never know what information you may come across. Do not write off sources just because you feel like it doesn't necessarily pertain to you. Because remember, a lot of ancestors did not trust bureaucracy, they didn't trust the government, they didn't trust the colonies or whatever force that was overpowering them or that was trying to take advantage of them or whatever. They were not always trying to give in to what was normalized at that time or was pushing to be normalized. There were a lot of ancestors that felt like they didn't have to answer to colonizers and their demands. They didn't feel like they have to meet those demands. So please keep that in mind. Look for family members living nearby for potential connections, familial connections at that. When you look at the 1870 US Census, and also be sure to look at the 1860 census too. Be sure to compare the 1860 with the 1870 and with the 1880. Look at all those census and compare them together, and look at the people that are living nearby, because they lived in neighborhoods with people that look like them, that had the same beliefs as them, just the same values as them. Because a lot of times they were living in the same neighborhood as their family members. So keep that in mind when you're doing your research. Step number 3, explore Freeman Bureau records. Check records from the Freedmen's Bureau for information on formerly enslaved individuals, including labor contracts, marriage records, and more. You can look up these records on ancestry.com, familysearch.org. You can go to those websites to look up the Freeman Bureau records. Number 4, utilize local resources. Use them to your advantage. Visit local archives, libraries, historical societies in the areas that your ancestors lived in to access relevant records and resources to your research. This is very important. And also, this could also be why some of y'all guys are having trouble, because you probably can't travel to this area because it's far or whatever the case may be. But at some point in time, you may need to travel to the areas that your ancestors lived in and physically go look at those records, or get the help that you need to overcome those obstacles you're facing. And number 5, some of y'all are going to argue with me on this, but I say if you need to do a parentage test, do it. Okay, I'm not saying DNA ancestry test. I'm saying do a parentage test. If you are not sure if you're related to a family that you have heard about or come across, you can do a parentage test. I don't recommend doing DNA ancestry tests because there's so many privacy risks that come with it. But if you have done it, then you did it. So just keep a lookout for new updates and notifications on people that you share DNA with, since you and that relative submitted your DNA to that company. They were able to link you guys together if you are truly related by bloodline. Okay. So I'm not against DNA testing. I want to make that very clear. DNA is not a hoax. I never said that. Those words do not come out my mouth. DNA ancestry tests do not prove your ancestry. But you can use a DNA test, a parentage test, to prove relation to someone else. Number 6, join genealogy groups. There are so many online genealogy forums, Facebook groups, or even local genealogical societies that focus on Black American genealogy research, and you can go to them for support and guidance. So, really take advantage of the resources near you, guys. I cannot stress this enough. And also on my Patreon, I do post events by state. You do not have to be a member to access the genealogy events listings. It's for the public, so definitely utilize that to your advantage. Number 7, document and organize. I cannot stress this enough. This is why I tell you guys to use genealogy tools. Use those charts. Use those ancestry trees to your advantage. If you're visual, you're gonna need something that is going to help you visually. I cannot stress this enough. And also, genealogy taps into your creativity. So make sure that you are doing these research projects in ways that not also stimulate you, but also makes it easier for you to do the work and do the research. All right. So keep detailed notes, organize those documents, create a research log to track progress and findings. I have tools like these on my Patreon, and I also have ebooks available as well. And depending on what tier you're on my Patreon, you can get access to those for free. So definitely don't sleep on the resources I'm giving y'all in this video. And last but not least, number 8, stay persistent and patient. Genealogy research can be very challenging and time consuming. But if you're persistent and patient, the hard work is going to pay off. To overcome obstacles and making discoveries, you also have to be open to information that may be conflicting with your belief system too. And I know a lot of people don't want to hear that, but our ancestors were not perfect people. They were people at the end of the day. They had emotions. They went through things like we go through things now. They may not have the technology or the resources that we have now, but it doesn't make them less of a person. So just remember to embrace the information that you get. Remember to verify the information that you get. I also talk about this on my Patreon too, but make sure that you are taking the steps that you need to take to make sure that you're being successful in your genealogy research. By following these steps and staying dedicated to your research efforts, you can break down the 1870 brick wall. You can do it. You just have to stay persistent, keep an open mind, and do the research. All right. I love y'all guys. Please stay safe. And until the next time, bye.